Hello and welcome to another episode of That Is Nice, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start out with a question. Here's the question. What is the first thing that you think of when you hear the word propaganda? Is it Nazis? Is it the government? Is it politics? How about Sigmund Freud's nephew, his motherfucking nephew? Freud had a nephew by the name of Edward Bernays. He was a man who got an entire nation of women to smoke. He worked closely with presidents, drastically changed the way corporations advertised, and made us want things that we didn't even know we wanted. So, Bernays, he wasn't a businessman nor a politician. He actually went to Cornell and majored in agriculture. But he realized something revolutionary. And that realization was a lot more goes on in human decision-making than meets the eye. This would be their subconscious, things going on in their subconscious that they're not aware of. Background in the average life of somebody prior to World War II. With the growth of industry, cities began to be more densely populated. Also, companies at this time would advertise based on needs and give specs because people then, they saved their money and they lived by their means. It was a simpler time, it was a better time. And with this growth in a denser population in the cities, it became harder to stand out. But there was a man, Edward Bernays, and he realized this difficulty to stand out like no one else could. And he tapped into the subconscious of the masses to capitalize on the blending of the herd. An example of this would be, prior to Bernays, an advertisement for a car would sound a little bit something like this. This fine automobile has 700 horsepower, seating for 5 people at a price of $7,000. Now after, a Bernays ad would sound something like, this fine automobile is a manly man's car with speed to leave anyone eating your dust. So what Bernays did is, instead of give information about the products, he linked the information to the consumer's emotions and desires. By saying a manly man's car versus seating for 5, he made an irrational object become a powerful signal to the way that people want others to perceive them. This made humans' decision-making shift from irrational to irrational or logical to emotional. So you think you might need a new car, to you will feel better with a new car. Better about yourself and better about your life. The Neiman brothers, who are infamous on the New York Stock Exchange, said we must shift America from a needs to a want culture. And that's exactly what Bernays did. He was the first person to dabble into stealth marketing. Stealth marketing would be he places products in things like award shows, certain types of dresses, certain types of dishware, anything. He placed them in the award shows. People would just see them and they'd be constantly exposed to them. So then they decide they want them and they see the lavish lifestyle that those products are connected to with the rich and the famous, which would in turn make them want them because they want to appear that way. By the way, it's important that you watch out for this in the news, them tapping into your subconscious and your emotions rather than your specs and logic, because it happens often. He also did something insane, and this was he got women to start smoking. And this all started when a tobacco company CEO came up to Bernays and hired him and said, we are losing 50% of our market. So Bernays goes, what are you talking about? And he was talking about women, because it was still a taboo for women to smoke in this time period. So Bernays, being the man he is, he knew the first thing that he had to do was to eliminate the taboo of women smoking. Women started working because the men were off fighting, and this is when they started to gain their independence. They were still faced with the double standard and the oppression that women would face during this time, and they wanted very badly to be strong, to be powerful. So Bernays, he would first break the taboo by putting smoking in popular fashion magazines. So he made it fashionable. He would make it seem like it's something that like slim, sexy, attractive women would do. And there was even an ad saying, don't grab a sweet, grab a smoke. So instead of grabbing a sweet and gaining weight, just grab a smoke and you won't get fat. That's cruel. And people say I'm f***ed up. This double standard was clearly still evident. He was trying to break the taboo, get women to be more accepting of smoking, and get men to be more accepting of women smoking. Now, fortunately for Bernays, he turned the women's suffrage movement into something to benefit him massively. The suffragettes are basically the feminists of this era. There was a parade, actually. There was a parade, and he talked to some of the suffragettes. And he gave them all cigarettes, and he paid them and told them to light it up in the middle of the parade when there's like a bunch of people watching. And he knew that this would get lots of media attention because, oh my God, that's so crazy, this woman's smoking. And there's like news outlets everywhere. There's a bunch of people and kids around. So these suffragettes just pulled out cigarettes and started smoking, and it got the attention. And then the cigarette became a symbol of power. They were even called by Bernays torches of freedom because it showed women's rebellion, it showed their independence, it showed their power. So the cigarette to them now tapped into their subconscious and their emotions by saying, look at us, we're strong, we're powerful, we're independent. And when women see influential feminists who they look up to doing this, and they seem so powerful, the people who follow them are also going to follow what they do. So smoking then picked up like crazy. So in my opinion, collectively, Bernays, I don't know if I see him as a bad character or a good character, but I do think that his tactics of tapping into the individual's subconscious to motivate them to buy products even when they don't need it, I find it to be responsible for the exponential growth in debt in the average American, because we are known as an impulse nation. Now, quick, fast, don't think about it, just do it. Add that in with constantly being exposed to ads that are selling a lifestyle. When you see a car commercial, what is it selling? It's not selling you a car, it's selling you this like luxurious lifestyle. When you see a Nike commercial, it's not selling you shoes or a shirt. It's selling you like the fit and healthy lifestyle. The middle class now has a lot of luxuries, but think about it in pre-World War II times when they didn't have luxuries. The only thing the middle class had, the working class, was just what they need. But now the middle class has just nothing really but excess, just like the rich class would back in the day. But with the excess, they also have excessive credit card debt. So thank you, Bernays. Thank you very much. So he originally called this stuff propaganda. He called it propaganda, which it is. But, propaganda wasn't a bad term. It wasn't necessarily a bad term. However, it got a bad rep as soon as the Nazis started using it. So he had to find a new way to title what he was doing. And he coined the phrase public relations. So I'm sure all of you have heard of public relations. People even major in it at college. They might not know where it came from, but it's basically the study of propaganda, which isn't a bad thing, but now you know what you're doing. So, in conclusion, Edward Bernays had a method that had a lasting effect from the 20th century even now into our everyday lives. Most ads you are seeing are always trying to sell you a lifestyle, leaving the consumer to feel like the way that they're living is better and they can sell it to me if I just give them a few of my hard-earned dollars, then I'm going to have that lifestyle. and they keep chasing it and chasing this lifestyle and this lifestyle and this lifestyle. With that, let us know if you think Bernays' methods were beneficial or harmful to society. And like always, was it nice? Yes, it was, Jake. That's awesome. Thanks for coming on, Jake. And remember to follow us at That Is Nice Podcast on Instagram. And thank you and have a good night.